Hello, I'm Gill at engVid, and today's lesson is on negative contractions or abbreviations. So this is something you will hear a lot when people speak, because people use these abbreviations or contractions all the time in informal speech, especially because it's quicker. Okay. So we're looking at some contractions using the negative because the way it's constructed is a bit different from the way it's done with the positive statement. Okay, so negative contractions, verb to be. So let's have a look first of all at the present tense. So the positive would be I am. But the negative is I am not. But in the contracted form, people say all the time when they're speaking, I'm not, I'm not. And when it's written down, you have an apostrophe, which shows that there's something missing. So the letter A is missing here for I am. So I'm not. Okay? Then that's the first person singular. So then second person singular, you, you're not, because am changes to are, A-R-E. So you are not. Contracted becomes you're not, with an apostrophe. But then with all of these, after the first person, all the other ones have an alternative version. So you can either say you're not or you aren't. You are, and instead of not spelt out, you've got N apostrophe T. So there are two different ways of saying it, either you're not or you aren't. And there isn't really much difference between them in terms of which is, they're both similar, they're both informal, spoken. That there isn't one that sounds more old-fashioned than the other. They're just alternatives. So you're not or you aren't. You may have heard people using this form and perhaps been confused by it, or you may be used to one form and not the other one. So this is giving you both here. So you're not or you aren't. Okay, then the third person singular. So it's he, she, it, third person singular. So it's either he's not, for he is not, he's not, or she's not, or it's not. Or it can be he isn't. And again, it's the not part that gets the apostrophe rather than the is part. He's not or he isn't. She's not, she isn't. It's not, it isn't. Okay. And then moving on to the plural, first person plural, we. So we are not becomes we're not. We're not. You may also be not quite sure how to pronounce these when they're contracted. So I hope this lesson helps you with that as well. Some people get a bit confused about how to say it. So we're not, or we aren't, we aren't. Okay? And then you will be the same again here in the plural. The second person plural is just the same. You, you're not, you aren't. And then we have the third person plural for they. They are not becomes they're not, or they aren't, they aren't. Okay, So I hope that's helpful there. And then there's a funny thing that happens. There's a non-standard version of this, which you might hear in the UK, especially in the London area, but I think it's also used in other parts of the country too. And it's a non-standard, which some people call bad grammar, but to be more polite, it's called non-standard. It's not the standard grammar. And it's this ain't. And again, N''T shows that it's not, but a, not. Nobody says a, not. But in the contracted form, it's pronounced ain't. And it can be used for all the pronouns, which is quite useful, really, that it doesn't change. It may be non-standard, but at least it doesn't change, so it's easy. Although I wouldn't advise you to use it because it sounds very casual, very informal. So you would say, I ain't, you ain't, he ain't, she ain't, it ain't, we ain't, they ain't. So meaning I ain't going to the cinema, we ain't going tonight, he ain't working today, things like that. So ain't, you will hear probably people saying it, especially if you're in the UK. You might hear it on television, on the radio, in films, and so on. Okay. And then back to the standard grammar again now, going to the past tense. So was not becomes wasn't, and were not becomes weren't. So was and were depending on which person. So I wasn't, you weren't, he, she, it wasn't, we weren't, they weren't. Okay? And then for the future, won't be, which is a bit strange, but won't is a contracted form of will not. So it's a bit strange because the I and the double L of will changes to woe. We've got not here, and then we've got woe, not will. We don't say willn't, we say won't. Maybe because willn't is difficult to say, I don't know. But won't be means will not be. Okay? And again, that can be used for every person, singular or plural. I won't be, you won't be, he won't be, we won't be, they won't be going to the party, whatever. Okay? Right, so those are all the contractions using the verb to be. And then to finish, we have some song titles here. So I wonder if you can work out, if you recognise the song titles, and if you can see what is missing in the gaps. Okay, so shall we go through them one at a time? Unusual. And the performer, the singer, is Tom Jones, Welsh singer. You may think of him as English or British. He's from Wales, which is part of Britain, part of the UK. So, unusual. So this is to do with a negative using the verb to be. Okay. Let's just go through and then we'll go back and fill in the gaps. So this one, I'm sure you've heard of this song. You, nothing but a hound dog. A hound and a dog, but it's the same thing. Why? What is a hound dog? It's just maybe a particular kind of dog, but hound and dog mean the same. But Elvis Presley, you've probably heard of. So if you want to think about what goes in the gap there. And then this one, there. This is somebody in the negative using the verb to be there. Okay. And then finally, he, heavy, he's my brother, and, oh, that was the Zombies, by the way. And then this is another pop group, the Hollies. Okay. So, let's have a look then. So, have you guessed what these all are? Unusual. So, it's a negative. So, I'll put the negative in, just in case you haven't got it. The negative might help you with the other part. So, I'll put the not there. So, now we need a pronoun and the verb to be. Not unusual. So I'll give you a clue. It's the third person singular, he, she, or it. So which do you think it might be? Okay, so it's not unusual is the song title. Okay. Next one. You, nothing but a hound dog. So, which of these could it be? So, we've only got one space for the word. So, could it be that one? Yes, I think so. You ain't. So that just proves I was wrong about the London area and the UK. Elvis Presley used this as well in America. So ain't is used in America. So, okay, I should have realised that. So, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, right? Crying all the time, I think it goes on. So, this one then, let's have a look. There, and it's negative. Somebody, not. Okay, not. Somebody is not there. Who is it who's not there? Do you know this song? So, clue, third person singular, he, she, or it. Is it he's not there, she's not there, it's not there? Okay, so there it is, that's the one. Okay, she's not there. And finally, he, heavy, he's my brother. So negative, contraction, single gap. So it's like this one again. He ain't heavy. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. Okay, good. So I hope you found that useful and interesting. And if you'd like to go to the website engvid.com, there's a quiz there to test you on this. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.